Real Country 1430 AM and 1073 FM WRDN. This is the WRDN Morning Farm Report. I'm Brian Winnikins. Joining us this morning, Wisconsin Senator Tammy Baldwin, as we talk about the Fertilizer Research Act and even a little bit about AM radio as well. And thank you to the Wisconsin Soybean Marketing Board, our video sponsors, along with Wisconsin Corn Growers Association, Wisconsin Farmers Union, Synergy Co-op, Osseo Plastics, Compeer Financial, Animal Wellness Center of Buffalo Valley, Annabis Silo, and Elsivia Co-op. And Senator, good morning, and thank you for joining us. Well, for soybean and corn growers in Wisconsin, they are probably very interested in finding out more about the Fertilizer Research Act with yourself, Senator Grassley, and Senator Ernst. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we know Wisconsin farmers work very hard to provide food for our families, but in recent years, our farmers have faced a lot of headwinds, and one of those challenges has been the spike in the price of fertilizer. Last year, the cost of fertilizer was like a staggering 30% of the inputs costs. That's very, very significant. We've seen a very significant spike in price. And at the same time, our farmers have very little insight into why these prices spiked, how they're determined. And so with this legislation, we're hoping to pull back the veil, if you will, of the competition within this market and be able to craft solutions that address the high costs that farmers are facing. But high fertilizer prices don't just affect our hardworking farmers, they also can result in elevated prices because they limit the amount that farmers might plant if they can only afford a limited amount of fertilizer. So these are serious issues that affect our economy, and we need to have greater insight and information, and that's what this bill would do.
Is this also a national security issue because we import so much fertilizer from folks like Russia?
Absolutely. And we saw a huge elevation in price when Russia illegally invaded Ukraine. And there, again, we don't have all the information we need on this topic, but there's no question in my mind that the invasion, the war, tariffs, et cetera, all play a role. We need to get greater insight. And it appears that there is a fundamental lack of competition here, too, which also has an impact.
Talking with Wisconsin Senator Tammy Baldwin about the Fertilizer Research Act this morning, along with pulling the veil out from in front of the fertilizer markets. Is there this bill help to make domestically made fertilizers or find new types of domestically made fertilizers? Because some of this is we just don't have the natural resources. We have to import it, i.e. from Russia. So does this help with trying to find new types of fertilizers that can be made domestically?
Well, I think when we do the research and have greater transparency, that those sort of recommendations will flow from this work, and that we'll have, you need the basic information in order to make recommendations and craft policy solutions. So right now, the existing data that we have is outdated. USDA research that we do have points to the fact that there is a fundamental lack of competition, but we need greater insights in order to come up with proposed solutions.
Finally, Senator Baldwin, let's talk a little bit about AM radio. You are one of the co-sponsors of the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act. I think it was last week, Senator Markey, Senator Cruz, they attempted to have the bill passed by unanimous consent. Senator Paul, of course, from Kentucky said, oh, wait a minute, we're not going to do that. So I guess, what does that mean for the bill? Does that mean the bill is dead, or it just has to go through a different type of process here?
Yeah, many bills are passed by unanimous consent. I think people would find that hard to believe when you that anything can happen unanimously in the United States Senate, but it actually does happen with regularity in terms of issues that are not controversial. But when you don't get unanimous consent, meaning any one senator can object to that process, it means it goes through a longer consideration and would have to be placed on the calendar by the majority leader, undergo a certain amount of debate before a final vote. And since time is scarce, to have several days dedicated to a piece of legislation, it's not going to come up before the end of the year, put it that way, because the time is scarce. But I do think there's opportunities both to try to figure out and address any objections that the objecting senator might have, and then to come up either as an amendment to another bill that's moving through or on its own.
Is there a concern that there could end up being, if it goes through, I guess what would be called regular order? I've heard that phrase before.
Yes, that's the phrase.
That there may not be this, because the Senate's kind of weird. You have to have 60 votes to actually have a vote, even though the bill only needs 51 votes to pass that filibuster. So is there a concern about that?
I haven't seen what we would call, now we're getting in the weeds, a whip count. In terms of, I haven't seen anybody polling all the senators to see where they fall on this bill. I would imagine that there's not a ton of objection to it, but we'll have to see, and it'll get slotted in the future for full consideration, as you say, through regular order.
Regular order, whip counts.
Congress
has weird phrases. I just, whips and regular order and all that. But well, again, Senator, we appreciate you taking some time joining us today. Merry Christmas to
Merry Christmas to you too.
All right. And that is U.S. Senator Tammy Baldwin. You're listening to the WRDN Morning Farm Report.